Hello everyone and welcome back to Reading Reddit, the channel where I read you popular and obscure stories from the hive mind of the internet while you do other things. I'm your host Damien, and without further ado, let's begin. This story comes from r/MaliciousCompliance. Try to become our boss? Screw over employees and order us to follow your contract exactly how it's written? Let's see how this works out. Before the company was sold and driven into the ground by the new owners, I worked as a patrol supervisor for a high-end security company. Now let's explain some things that are relevant to the story. Only supervisors got salary. Our normal working week was 48 hours, 4 12-hour days. Anything over that, and we got hour for hour paid time off in lieu of normal vacation. Our contract stated that if a supervisor worked any position that wasn't as the supervisor on duty, they were to be paid an hourly rate based on their average hourly salary rate. The contract stated two more important things. The company can buy paid time off at 85% or more of its value if the employee agrees. Said the employee can also offer to sell it back for any amount. 2. Contracts are valid for 1 year. If an employer wants to renegotiate before that time, the employer has to pay so much for each month that the contract is still valid for. Not the exact phrasing, it's been a while, but you get the idea. For clarity, we're 5 months out into our current contract at the time. Now, the owner, I'll call John, was awesome. He expected a lot, but he treated everyone well, gave his supervisors almost free rein, and made sure officers had the best equipment to protect themselves, and was generally a good guy. So we didn't give him much flack over the little things. Now we asked for, and he gave, the supervisors a discretionary fund for all our officers. On most nights, we had an on-call officer. Some nights, we didn't. If we needed to call someone in, we could say, "Hey, come in and work, and I'll buy you lunch." Or, "You want to come in, but don't have the gas to get to your region and back? Meet me at this gas station, and I'll buy you some gas." Little things to help keep the supervisors from having to work regions and do our jobs. Plus, it made everyone happy. Normal cost was around $450 to $500 a month, but saved the company thousands. He wanted a low turnover company and found ways to keep experienced people applying and staying with the company. Enter the new HR rep, Mary. Well, she calls a meeting with us supervisors. She has some things she needs to discuss. So the next morning, me and my fellow 2 supervisors show up. On the table was an end to the discretionary fund. It cost the company too much, she said, and stuck to it after us explaining how it saved money. Also, without going into specifics, we had to work exactly like our employment contract stated, no deviating. Also, any requests for promotions among the officers needed to be approved by her, which to her, they were just a payroll number. A bunch of other things designated to put herself between us and John became our boss. Now, none of us had never really read the whole contract, so at the end, we went over it without her. Turns out there are a lot of loopholes that we could drive a truck through, but legally valid. Now, we could have taken this to John, but we knew he would say to give it a chance, so we did. Seeing we were salary, our pay period was monthly, 30 days, instead of weekly. We also knew John didn't read certain emails or payroll until the end of the month, so we set to do out exactly as she asked. Stick to the contract. So, we each work our 48 hours and other days of the week. I ended up working 24 days out of that month. My normal 48 hours as a supervisor, plus an additional 24 to 36 hours a week as a regional patrol officer. Mostly because without our fund, it was getting almost impossible to help get people come in on their days off. So we split it up. But I did the majority. So we submitted forms for not only paid time off for those extra shifts, but a pay request for hourly for each extra shift, which for me was $18.75 an hour for each one. I never went into hourly overtime for the week. At the end of the 27 days, I accumulated over 100 hours of paid time off from the extra shifts and going overtime on my supervisor shifts. John, was added to the email also. But the subject was end of the month forms, which means he wouldn't read them until the end of the month to verify the ones that Mary gave him were correct. In other words, we double-dipped like a son of a bitch that month. Now, fast forward 27 days after the meeting, and John sent us an email stating he was aware of the situation and scheduled a meeting for 8 a.m. the next day. We get in there, and he doesn't look happy. But Mary looked smug, so we got worried it might have backfired. Until John started, and basically it went like this. Gentlemen, Mary told me about your meeting. She didn't discuss it with me first, or I would have stopped it. I also know, if you would have come to me, I would have said to try it out. Also, HR will never be in charge of the supervisors. You work for me and me alone. So, holds up 3 envelopes and hands them out. Here is your hourly pay for being region officers for this month. Your normal pay comes out at normal time. Also, hands out another envelope to each of us. This is my attempt to buy back all of your paid time off you have gained over the month at 90%. If you don't accept, give me the check back. None of us did. Now, here is another check, each for the contract buyout, and I will have a new one ready in the morning. I've also refilled and reactivated the cards for your discretionary fund. So use it as needed, and if you run out before the end of the month, email me. He then just looks over at Mary and says, So Mary, how much did your idea save the company? Mary, $500, John. John replies, No, Mary, it cost the company $12,000. That's what those checks total to. Sure, OP got the lion's share here, but the man is a work animal, and it still cost me $12,000. Then Mary said something I'm sure she got fired for. She said, Come on, John, it's just words on a piece of paper, and they're not really legally binding. Besides, the use of loopholes in a contract is illegal. That got us all staring at her. We may not have attended business school, but we are smart enough to know that not only was she wrong, but dead wrong. Yeah, the next day John sent out an email saying the position was open and anyone interested to send in their resumes. P.S. The only changes to our contract was adding that we could get PTO or our hourly rate. Well, that was an interesting read. Quite frankly, when people come in and try to mess with things that they have absolutely no business messing with, it tends to backfire for them. Which makes me wonder how she got qualified. Was she even qualified, or did she BS her way into getting that position? I hope you enjoyed today's story. If you did, please give it a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'd like to thank everyone who posted their stories to the subreddit. You can visit them at the links in the description below. If you missed the last video, you have to go check it out. Links are also in the description. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time.